Greetings. I've been expecting you. I'm Lawrence Vanderswag, and I want to help you find your way in the world of railways. I'll tell you everything you need to know to set up a successful Of course, if you want to make money transporting passengers, mail, and freight, you need to understand where. Have a look at the map. Move the map in all directions and change the zoom level. And now, turn the camera in all directions. Very well. Now take a closer look at the area around the two cities, San Francisco and Sacramento. Cities and rural businesses are crucial to the transportation business. Farms in the countryside produce basic goods and raw materials, which are also needed by cities. As long as there are no railroads, all goods must be transported via simple rural roads. Through the railroad, the old transport routes can be replaced. In addition, cities and farms that were... Take a closer look at Sacramento. Under the name, you can see the size of the city. Sacramento has a steady supply of passengers, mail, and export goods every day, some of which is destined for First, construct a railroad station in Sacramento. Open the building construction to select it. Then move it to a valid location within the Sacramento City region. It's best to rotate it so that the tracks face San Francisco. By the way, each station can be expanded after construction with up to 2 additional buildings and 7 tracks. Now build the second station in San Francisco. Move the station to a valid position within the city borders and turn it preferably to the southeast so that you can get well around the bay in the next step. Very good. And now establish a track connection between the two cities. To do this, open the track construction mode and select the first station track at both stations in turn. The stations will then be connected and the entire track will be shown to you as a preview, which you can still modify. The preview track follows the shortest path. However, this is not always possible and often not the cheapest solution. Especially tunnels and bridges can be very expensive. In the overview, you can see how the track construction costs are. To change the course of a proposed track, you can insert track points and then move them. Now set such a track point once by selecting the track. Now optimize the cost of the track with the help of track points. Please note that length, slopes, as well as tight curves will have a negative effect on the travel time of your trains. Then, confirm the construction. Very good. The track has been built and can be used immediately. Now, set up a rail line. Now add your stations to the rail line by selecting them one by one. It's enough if the rail line has 2 stations. Now assign the type of locomotive to the train line which all trains should use. At the moment, you have only 1 locomotive to choose from. Now specify how many trains should run on the rail line. To start off, 1 train is enough. For each train, you have to pay the cost of purchasing the locomotive. Now, confirm this cost. Fantastic! The train is now immediately deployed and will soon be on its way. Now, close the edit mode to see the rail line in action. Zoom in on the train and watch it load. The train is loading goods, passengers, and mail destined for the other city. Let's wait until the train reaches the other city. By the way, you can increase the gameplay speed at any time. Also, the game runs faster when you zoom out. The train has arrived and is being unloaded. The numbers rising above the train are the transport revenue. This is the most important source of revenue for your company. Hello! In this lesson, I want to give you some additional information about track construction. You already know the basics, but I have a few important tips. First, consider the cattle farm with the road connection to Sacramento. The road tells us that the farm can deliver goods to the city, in this case, livestock to the meat industry. But transportation, therefore, you are now to establish a railroad connection between the cattle farm and Sacramento. In order for a rural business to use a station, the station must be set up nearby. This is indicated to you by a line from the farm to the station. Very good. And now, build a track between the new station and the station in Sacramento. Don't use the first 2 station tracks in Sacramento, though, because we still need them for the connection to San Francisco. Great! But before you build the track, I want to explain how you can influence the height of a track. To do this, insert a track point on the track and change its height. You will see the controls at the bottom of the screen when you move the focus over the track point. With the height of a track point, you can influence tunnels, bridges, and slopes. Now, optimize the track so that no tunnels or bridges are needed, and the track has a length of less than 250 kilometers or 160 miles. Then, confirm the track construction. Excellent. Now, set up a rail line between the cattle operation and Sacramento. To do this, create a new rail line between the two stations, select a locomotive and a train, and confirm the cost. That done, the rail line can begin service. But suppose the demand for cattle becomes so great, therefore, you should now build a sidetrack and define directions of travel so that several trains can operate between the cattle farm and Sacramento. Now select the track at the marked position to insert a switch. Now it gets tricky. You have to lay the new track as a parallel track to the existing one. Parallel tracks are much cheaper and offer many advantages. Move your cursor to the marked position and make sure that the parallel track symbol appears on the cursor. Then confirm the position. Very good. Now the track will continue to be built as a parallel track. Now select the last position for your sidetrack near the cattle farm. You will see the complete track with 2 switches as a preview. Then confirm the construction and pay for this track. Now you have to set directions for the 2 parallel tracks. Otherwise, your trains will always choose the shortest way and not use the sidetrack. Now open the direction mode and select both tracks several times so that they receive different directions. Very good. Now your trains can go one way and return the other. Why don't you zoom in close to one of the new turnouts and take a look at the signals that were automatically created by the turnouts and the direction of travel. These signals define directions of travel and tell trains where to stop if the track section in front of them is already occupied but at the moment, you don't need a second train on this route because your rail line can already transport much more livestock. Open the Sacramento City dialog by selecting the Sacramento City borders. You can select anything except special building. Important information about the city is shown here. At the top, the citizens of the city are displayed. Below that is how many wagons of goods the citizens and the industries in the city. Furthermore, the current train usage is shown for freight, passengers, and mail. Below that, it shows how many passengers and how much mail are currently waiting. The same is true for mail. So if you want to transport as many express goods to San Francisco as possible, however, this route does not offer any alternative options for several trains. Now you have opened the track construction mode and build a railway line from track 2 in Sacramento to track 2 in San Francisco. You will see that this track is automatically planned as a parallel track and is therefore very convenient. But 2 parallel tracks do not help yet. We still have to connect them. There is a very practical method for this, the station gridiron. With it, you can connect parallel tracks in front of stations. Select the station gridiron and build it in front of the Sacramento and San Francisco stations. Excellent. Now set different directions for the 2 parallel tracks so that the trains can avoid each other. Select the track direction mode again and set different directions for the 2 tracks by selecting the track section. Excellent. By setting directions, all signals are automatically created here as well. Now your track is ready for first, you can simply select the train that is traveling between the 2 cities. Do that. You can also simply switch through all your rail lines. Try that too. And there is a third way. Select a track between San Francisco and Sacramento. Then, a list of all the rail lines that use this track will open on the left. You can also now select Edit Rail Line and increase the number of trains to 2. The cost of this is for the locomotive. Perfect! Take a close look at the station and the station gridiron in Sacramento. The new train can be created immediately because thanks to you can place gridirons at all parallel tracks in front of a station if there is enough space available, because the more tracks are to be connected, the longer the structure. Since the station gridiron can only be used by one train at a time, I wouldn't recommend you to connect more than 4 parallel tracks. Now let's wait for the train. And already the new train is on the way. By the way, the train number of the train you are currently looking at is shown above. Switch through the trains on your train line once. This is useful, for example, if you want to see what each train has loaded. And that's the end of this lesson. You now know how to create switches, side tracks, parallel. Welcome to my lesson on locomotive maintenance. First, you need to know that all locomotives. Here you can see the current state of the locomotive. The lower the condition is, the more often the train has a breakdown and stops on the way. Locomotives are automatically repaired at stations if they have a maintenance depot. To do this, try choosing the station in Sacramento. Here you can select Construct Extension. Do that and take a look at the options available. Then build a maintenance depot. Very good. Whenever the state bar of a locomotive has dropped to about 60%, it will be serviced. And since these 3 bars show the levels of water, sand, and oil. If operating materials are missing, all of the operating materials that a locomotive requires can be obtained at supply towers, which must be built along the tracks. Open the building menu and select the supply tower. Now build a supply tower near each of the marked positions. Very good. Both rail lines can now reach a supply tower. You can build them at any position along your line. There is one more building that has to do with maintenance. Unlike the maintenance depot or the supply tower, the maintenance post is not a required building type. This brings us to the end of this lesson. Feel free to look around some more. Once you have finished, this tutorial will end. This lesson is about optimizing rail lines, specifically how to optimize the revenue of a rail line according to its. Since this rail line operates between two cities, it transports passengers and mail. These two now open the balance sheet of the rail line. Here you can see, among other information, what revenues the selected train had on its last full tour. Now consider the costs. Maintenance and fuel are mainly affected by the length of a tour. Therefore, there are different locomotives. For example, on this rail line, we now want to test a freight locomotive and one for express goods between the two cities. Open the Research and Development section. Here you will see many technologies that you can unlock over the years. They improve countless aspects of your business. These include higher ticket prices, happier passengers, and even more modern locomotives. Your current locomotive is the Dunham. Select it and let's take a look at its data. Compare the speed, tractive power, and suitability of the Dunham with the two locomotives to the right of the Dunham, the Derwent and the Firefly. You can see that the fast Firefly has a much lower tractive power than the... Now, unlock these two locomotives so you can use them in your rail line. Very good. Now close this dialog. Now optimize the rail line for express goods. Exchange the locomotive for the Firefly and select Express as the load type. Then, pay the cost for the new locomotives and close this dialog. Now, watch your rail line and use the fast forward function if you like. It will only pick up express goods and it will reach a much higher speed than before. After a while, it will even show the express symbol. This means your rail line is the fastest of its time and gets even higher ticket revenue. You don't have to offer an express line, of course. Everything works with slower and mixed transports as well. But to do this, extend the two parallel tracks from Sacramento to San Francisco by 2 more tracks. Then build a station gridiron at each station, connecting each of the 4 tracks. You can just build the new station gridiron on top of the previous one, but be aware that the new gridiron is much longer. Don't forget the directions for the new tracks. Now create a new rail line from Sacramento to San Francisco. To make it use the new tracks, you need to set waypoints. To do this, select the following 4 objects in sequence: Sacramento, the outbound track; San Francisco, the return track. Very good. Now use the Derwent as the locomotive. Select freight to be loaded because this rail line should only carry freight. That's exactly how it's done. Normally trains always take the shortest way, but by using waypoints you can specify certain paths. You should also do this for your express line so that the two lines don't get...